Hi, welcome. In this video, we're going to get started on our assignment 3, compiling multiple files. So you can either get here through assignments or you can go to the modules. So this is the module on compiling multiple files in C++. So let's get started. All right, so this assignment, you're going to be submitting 3 files. You're going to submit a .h file and 2 .cpp files. The first, we're gonna separate our functions into functions.h, functions.cpp. I have to fix that anyway. And then your main or driver file is going to be called last name a3.cpp, and that will have your main function in it. So let's take a look at the assignment and the sample output. All right, for this assignment, it's very similar to assignment 2, so I recommend that you understand assignment 2 before starting on this assignment. We are going to do the same kind of work, but we're going to change a few things. We're not going to have only void functions. So the function that used to be a void function that gets the name, age, and year, we're going to use reference parameters for the name and year, but we're going to use an integer inside the function and return it so that you can practice returning things from function. You're also going to return the youngest age, which will be an integer function for your youngest. You're going to return the oldest age, which will be an integer function for your oldest. And you're going to have an integer function that's going to call find oldest and find youngest, and it's going to return the difference between the oldest age and the youngest age. So we're going to do some of the same things. It's going to be the same flow, the same kind of program. We're just going to add an extra function, add where the functions are called, and change some of our void functions to integer functions. All right, so let's take a look at the sample output. So take a look at the sample output. I've also highlighted the differences. So you're still going to get the name, date, and age, only the function's going to return the age back to the main function as a return type. So you're going to get 3 people. You're going to check their generation they were in, just like you did before. Uh, you're, but now your youngest function is just going to print the name. Your oldest function is just going to print the name, and you're going to return back the youngest and the oldest age to a different function and print it from there. And that function is going to return the difference, and you're going to print the difference in main. And again, this is on purpose, so you practice passing and returning things from functions. The leap year function will be the same function. All right, so this is the sample output. For sure, do not make any assumptions if you don't understand. There are different ways to get help, so let's just go over the different ways to get help. We have 2 TAs in this course. Let's make sure they're okay. So their office hours will be updated in this section, but they did both post an announcement here. So we have 2 TAs for this course. And if you look at the announcement after this video, I will add these also to the section here in the modules where it says TA, instructor, contact, and office hours. So please do not make any assumptions on this assignment. Be sure to work through this assignment without using AI. You can use AI all you want for assignment 0, but the focus is for you to learn how to do this yourself, understand the code, and then be able to do a similar assignment like assignment 0 at the end of the semester. All right, so I'm going to use the online compiler for this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this compiler, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And up here is the option to add a new file. So you can just add a new file here. I'm going to add a file which is functions.h. And I can add another new file which will be functions.cpp. So this is you're going to use all 3 of these files, and right now this could be called main.cpp, but before you submit it, you know that you should change the name to your last name underscore A3. So I do have some templates here for you to help you get started. So I recommend coming here. Here's a .h template, a .cpp template, and the main function template. So I'm going to go ahead here and copy and paste this into my compiler. So this is my main. So this has my main function. It already has some information up here. Of course, you need to update the header with your name, date, and describe what the program does. It's already including functions.h for you using namespace standard. We do use strings and IOStream, and it already has the loop that you had from your previous program. So this is already done for you. If you've already done some work, you're going to have to make some changes because you'll notice that the get info function is not a void function anymore. It returns an age. You're also going to have an old and young function, and instead of calling the find oldest and find youngest directly from here in the main, you're going to call that from the old and young function and print the difference onto the screen. Then the leap years function is going to be the same, and the categories function will be the same. So now we go here to our functions.h, which I've downloaded. This is the prototypes. So we're going to go through this in a moment. I'm just going to also get the functions.cpp file. And paste. That's main. Oh, I pasted the main in the wrong one. Well, so the main has got to have the main. All right, so let's review this. This is our main. This has our main function. This is our function.h, which has our function prototypes. And this is our functions.cpp, which has our definitions for those functions. I want to also reiterate the fact that this is not your lecture right here. This is going over and explaining to you how to do the assignment. So there's an assumption that before you get to this video and start looking at how to do your assignment, there's an assumption that you have already gone through the lecture material and have a basic understanding of the concept of separate compilation, and you've already been working through the earlier modules and know what function prototypes are, function definitions are, the main function, etc. So this is just giving you some tips to help you get started um, on your programming assignment. So let's see if this will even run from what we have. So it does have some issues. So it has the issues. It's still, and for me, it's still executing. The only thing what it's doing is it's giving me a warning. And the warning that it's giving me is that in this function right here, anytime that your function has a return type other than void, it should be returning an integer. So here, this function is already set up and it has an integer return type and it returns an integer. This one has an integer return type and it returns an integer. This one has an integer return type and it returns an integer. But this function right here has an integer return type and it does not return an integer. So I'm going to fix this warning for right now. I'm going to make sure I don't have this warning anymore. So I'm going to declare uh, and then obviously this is not the full implementation. This is just to remove that warning. So now I don't have any warnings, but the only thing this uh, program does is it runs the loop in main, the same way that assignment 2 did. So you can refer to your assignment 2 as much as possible to complete this assignment. I don't have any problem with that. But keep in mind that there are some differences. So we'll get started on the first couple functions. So we need to declare our variables. So we're going to have int age 1, age 2, age 3. Oh, I forgot to stop. int age 1, age 2, age 3, year 1, year 2, year 3. And string name 1, name 2, name 3. So the first thing you want to do is you want to ask and get in the names and the birth years. So this function, get info, no longer does all three by reference, it only does two by reference. So we got to implement this function. So the get info function is going to ask and get the name and the year by reference. So that would come from your what you had before. So you would just do you have your enter year, and then this parameter is going to hold the year, so it's going to be shared by the main and this function. Enter your enter name. And this name is going to be shared. And the difference here is that we're going to declare a temporary age inside this function. We're going to get the age and we're going to pass the age. So we're going to practice passing an integer from this function. So let's go here to our main function and call that function and make sure that it works as expected. So again, you don't have to print this, but I like to do each function, make sure it works, and then try the next one, try the next one. So the best way for me to follow that things are working as expected is to print onto the screen to follow what's happening. So we're going to get the first name, the first age, and the first year and print it onto the screen to make sure that this function works as expected. So let's try it. Enter your current year. Okay, so I don't like that already, so I'm going to fix that. It's not going to be current year, it's going to be enter the year you were born. All right, let's try again. Enter the year you were born, 2009. Enter your first name, Geo. Enter your age, 15. So it prints Geo 15, 2009. I'm going to make an assumption that it works. So I'm going to go back here to my main function, and I'm going to have to do the same thing now with age 2 and age 3. So then once I get that, I've gotten and to get age 2, I'm going to pass name 2 and name. So I'm going to get age 2, name 2, and year 2, and age 3, name 3, and year 3. So I'm going to get all that information. Then the categories function, I believe, is the same as our other. It takes in the name and the year and it prints the category. So you can copy and paste that. You already have the prototype here. You just go here to your implementation file and you copy and paste the function definition for the categories. All right. So now then the next thing you want to do is the old and young function. So the old and young function is a function that's going to call the find youngest function, call the find oldest function, print the youngest age, print the oldest age, and return the difference. So in order for the old and young function to work, you need to get your youngest age and your oldest age functions to work. So let's take a look at those. So the youngest function, it works just like it did before. The only difference is that it's going to print the name onto the function. In the function, it'll print the name of the youngest person, but it's going to return the age of the oldest person, not just print the name of the age of the youngest person, not just print it onto the screen. And then the oldest function is going to do the same thing, only with the old. Okay, so I really want you to work on that and do it yourself. This is just to help you get started. The idea is to work on one thing, one function at a time, test it, make sure it works as expected, move on to the next function, make sure it works as expected, move on to the next function, and then obviously test your sample output to make sure that everything is working as expected. When you're done, you copy and paste the main.cpp and save it as your last name underscore a3.cpp. And then the functions.h, which was already given, you can submit that as well. If you don't submit it, it's fine. I don't want you to modify functions.h. And then you need to submit your functions.cpp file as well. Be sure to add comments at the top that describe what's happening, comments throughout the code that helps you to understand what's going on. And please do not make any assumptions and get any help that you need from me or the TAs to assist you to complete this assignment on your own.